Part 2 of teaching the end from the beginning. Again, to recap, stay in series, watch all the parts, in sequence, please. But this is picking up. We're starting back to understand, to go back to the Garden of Eden, all the times that Yahusha, before he became flesh, back in the Isaiah Yeshayahu 40s, he says, in the beginning. I gave you everything in the beginning so you would not come back and say later, I did everything. Everything's in the beginning. Bereshit, or Genesis 1, is in the beginning. We had a perfect relationship with Yahuwah back in the Garden of Eden. Adam blew it. Yahusha's the second Adam that's taking us back there. And there's a wonderful little Sod and Drash and a little bit of Remez level of the 4 rivers that going out of the water of life, the river of the water of life in the garden, that take us back. So we're going to back up from chapter. We just finished chapter 11 in the first part. We have to tear down our man-made idea of stones, go back to the true rock, the true foundation, the true cornerstone that everything is built upon. Remember, Yahusha talked about, don't build your house upon anything but the rock, because the storms will come, the waters will flood, your house will collapse. You have to build it on the foundation stone, then whatever comes to beat against your house and what you're doing for the kingdom will not collapse. Okay? So that's pretty much where we stand now. Did I miss anything? I might fill in, since if you read studied part 1, in verse 8 of chapter 11, he said he scattered them all from there over all the face of the earth, and they left off building this altar going up to the heaven. Just like Satan exalted himself to the high heaven to try to throw Yahusha and Yahuwah off the throne. And Yahusha said, I saw Satan fall to the earth after he had to cast him down with the war of the angels. That's why the name of this city is called Babel or Babylon, confusion, because Yahuwah confounded the language. And again, to recap, we are going back from our English, trying to read these Bibles in English, going back to the couple of different pictographic style. I don't know the terminology. I don't play the scholar games. But there's 2 different types of pictographic, what I call pictographic Hebrew, that really open up what the Chaldean block letters of the Babylonian Chaldean block letter Hebrew teaches us. It's still valuable, but you need to connect the dots on all 3. So we've gone back to the original language so we can have back that authority to whatever we say gets done. Whatever you ask in prayer believing, and whatever you say to the mountain, be removed mountain, be cast into the sea, it shall be done for you. And again, Yeshayahu 55, you will call upon nations that you do not know, and they shall respond to you even though they don't know you, because my esteem is upon you. Read the whole chapter of Yeshayahu 55. That is the key of Dawid knowledge. That we, as King Dawid walked this earth in full authority, a king ruled over a system that was set up to have priests rule over it. Remember Moshe and Aaron? They were the rulers. Well, king took over that reign and made the priests subordinate. Okay? That's why Yahusha is a king priest. He has both offices. Okay, but that's not where we're going. So, to go back to the water of life, to go back to the true light of salvation, to enter that narrow gate where the cherubim with the flaming sword swinging all around to keep Adam out of the Garden of Eden, could be a type of the narrow gate to come back into the right fellowship. Yahusha, as Shaul talked about, is the second Adam. To bring us back to the Garden of Eden, chapters 11 down to chapter 1 of Genesis, Bereshit is the way it's done. As I said before in the other one, chapter 12 on is the Abrahamic covenant that covenants us with Yahuwah. Okay? That's the healing going forward. We are now going back to the garden from 11 back. As I said before, we have to go back to the one language. We have to double check all of our studies to make sure we thoroughly study out the text through the Hebrew, the different types of Hebrew, and compare them all. We're dealing with something that man's had his hand on a lot of years, and the Father has protected us. We have to be very careful. So, I'll read verse 1 again of chapter 11. All the earth had one language and of one speech. Now, we're reversing that. We've torn down our Tower of Babel, our Babylonian systems, or our ideologies that we're tearing down. We're coming back to the one language, casting off all of our counterfeit languages, not just speaking languages, but the counterfeit society we live in. We Yahuwahs don't really understand the culture that Yahuwah set up. In this Babylonish world we live in, people are out of order all the time in their faith. They don't understand there's an order that's been decreed that nobody's carrying out. Alright? Now, chapter 10, we're backing up. Chapter 10 of Bereshit, Genesis, is the genealogies. We're not going to cover it. There's some neat things we can teach from it, but that's not the issue for the day. Okay, now we're going to back up from the Noahic flood. Okay, the flood, in the soul level, we are the red clay Adamic earth. We are the earth that gets flooded. Okay, we are the earth that gets flooded. I'll read a little bit and I'll fill in some gaps. I'm going to make this very simple. Because the soul level of the four river heads leading out of the river of life in the Garden of Eden, the soul level is the mystery one. That's the deep encoded one in the Hebrew letters and characters, and you have to dig it out and lay only by someone who's mature. You just don't go and try to read the sod. I always recommend for the newbies just to stay in the Remez and the Drash. Yahushua did nothing in the good news but teaches the four levels. Like Yahukanan or John, he is the sod of the four good newses. See, all of they share, interconnected. I always taught that the parties is all levels flowing at once. As I said before in my other teachings, the letters of Shaul, he runs in all four levels, and that's why no one understands Shaul's letter. The brother of Yahusha, Yaakov, he's teaching the soul level, third dimension, explaining the spirit world, but nobody gets it. Talk about a horse and a ship. A horse with a bridle, that's sod. They're dealing with spirits. But nobody gets it. Well, must be a horsey. They don't understand. They have to get to know Yahuwah. You can't interpret the scriptures from your... The scripture has to interpret scripture. Okay, let's read a little bit and we'll study out. We're backing up now. We're in 9, Bereshit 9. Now Elohim, he blessed Noach. Noach is a rest, not a Sabbath rest, just a rest, resting from a burden. And his sons, and he said, be fruitful and increase and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you is going to be upon every beast of the earth, upon all the birds of the heavens, and all that creeps upon the ground, and all the fish of the sea. Into your hands they have been given. So now you're learning the spirit. Well, we're going to pick up in Bereshit 1. We have now come through the flood. The ark that contains the Ten Commandments, that's the same word. The ark, the boat ark, just like the ark in the temporary dwelling, that is a boat that keeps us from sinking into the sea of humanity. That ark kept us from dying into the sea of humanity. So you have to key code this from the book of Revelation. The seas are nations, tongues, peoples, and languages. The seas. So this ark boat kept us from drowning in the sea of the nations, of being wrapped up in their way of life. We've been called out. The ark boat saved us, which is still the same type of word as the Ark of the Covenant, which is the vessel that holds the Ten Commandments, the pot that held the manna, Aaron's rod that budded, what Shaul talked about at one time. They didn't have them anymore, but basically that's all the covenant we have, that this ark saves us. See, this is in the soul level, he's talking to you. All of this flood is talking to you. Just like in the book of Revelation, they were tormented for 5 months in chapter 9 in Revelation. They're tortured 5 months with the seals. No, it might not be 9. But for 5 months, all those who hate Yahuwah are tortured. That's 150 days. And the waters were on the earth, or there's 150-day periods and 40-day periods through this. We're not going to cover them all. I'm hitting this very lightly. Again, this is you. You are the person in the Ark of the Covenant, surviving man, nation, tongues, and peoples, drowning in them. He's pulled us out of the water. This is going in reverse. It's sort of like many, many years ago. Remember that Quentin Tarantino film, Pulp Fiction, I think? Remember they ran the movie backwards? All the scenes were put in reverse. And as you watched every scene, everything started to make sense again. So that's sort of like what we're showing you here. You have to back up from chapter 11 back to get the sequence. Now, other Torah teachers will teach it a lot deeper and different fragments. I always said the parties is like the 4 camera angles filming a sitcom. I'll use that analogy. You're watching the same sequencing for the same show, but there's 4 camera angles shooting, and when they go to edit it, then they add and put in different pieces of different angles to make it more entertaining or make it more fruitful for you. Same thing. So again, the sea that flooded out are all the nations, tongues, and peoples and languages that the ark saved us from. Okay? And then the fear of us and the dread of us can be upon the beasts of the earth. Those are ministering spirits and demons. It's angels and demons that are assigned to live in or around us. They don't fly away. Now, the birds of the heavens, those are the ladder that descends to heaven of Jacob, that the Malachim ascend and descend on to send messages, answer prayers, and do this. Usually when Father does something, it's by the hand of his Malach. So that's what the birds are. And we have authority over them now. We're repenting. There's a healing going on here, okay? And all that creeps upon the ground. And that has to deal with I'll just give you a quick example of that. Okay, when you think of worms and maggots, remember when Yahushua was on the torture stake in Tehillim 22, he said, "I'm but a worm." I thought it was Dawid speaking that, but I realized it was Yahushua's word, "I am but a worm." He said all he saw was his little squiggly worms giving him mortal life. All of our cells are driven by these little squiggly worms and maggots. Because the reason maggots are mentioned is because if you study all the blood cells, the skin cells, the nerve cells, you'll find that they squiggle differently. And that's what keeps us alive. Okay? So that's even the things that are creeping on the ground. So when we're in covenant, those maggots and worms don't let us get sick. Those are life or death, sickness or health. If they're not operating correctly, we aren't healthy. That's just the organic life bodies we live in, are the maggots and worms. And all the fish of the sea, we can go into that. Remember, Yahushua sent Kepha to find that fish, cast a net in the sea, and the first fish to pull up, go pay the tax. Remember that? Fishes are messengers too, and they have different aspects in the spirit realm because they function in the earth. Okay, when I ask for blessings, I got to keep these Facebook for these YouTube videos only 15 minutes. When I ask for the Father to bless and prosper my business so I can keep working, that He provides, because I'm an independent contractor and He has to provide my daily needs. I don't advertise, He does. I seek Him first, He does it. So when I am asking Him for help in my business, like I'm doing now, we're going through, since we're under a regime of a Marxist tyrannical government right now, we're struggling. Everybody's tightening up their money trying to hold on to see what's going to happen. So I've been really hurting that way. So when I ask for prayer, or ask in prayer to send forth His kindness, His mercy to bring in more business, the fish are sent out. These are ministering spirits that walk and function within the nations, tongues, peoples, and languages. This is the sewed mysteries I'm teaching. I'm trying to keep it very simple. But that's why He gives us the authority over these. Of course it's literal. The Peshat is literal. Of course we can go out and animals go out in my backyard, the rabbits will run from me. They're naturally afraid of us. Of course we have that animal authority. But if you read the scriptures like it's a book, you'll get very little out of it. It's not a book. It is life. It is His Ruach. It is His being. That's why we're going from Bereshit 11 backwards to enter into the water of life. To drink of Yahushua, to go back to where Adam blew it, where Yahushua, the second Adam, goes back in, and we are His body. How many times has this been taught, yet no one will teach it? We are His body to go back into the Garden of Eden to have fellowship with the Father. Adam is a type of the Messiah, Yahushua, and the Father in that depiction is the Father Yahuwah, having that one-on-one intimate relationship. Okay. So I'm trying to share with you the simple things. There's a reason everything is written in here. The fishes are just ministering spirits that work in the realm of the dead. They're assigned to function with nations, tongues, peoples, and languages, or the sea. They're in water. They're still ministering spirits, but it's their office the Father's describing here. They don't look like fish. That's why He had to go to that, well, we're just about out of time. I'll start at part 3, okay?